Okay, so that's cyclical cycles in the marketplace. Let's go through why that happens. The reason you get that up, flat, up, flat, up, flat is that businesses don't grow in straight lines either. So if I'm an investor in the market and I want to buy shares in a business, the perfect business in my world would do that. Growth would just be straight up. How many of you have got businesses that just go straight up in growth? And most people don't. What happens is they grow in jumps, and they kind of do that, and then they don't, and then they grow, and then they don't, and then they grow. And the reason is the S-curve, which I'll go through in a bit more detail. But typically we find they go through 4 stages between big infrastructural changes in their business. Now, this isn't stuff they teach you at an MBA. Anybody done an MBA? Okay, so I'll do the 3-minute MBA a bit later on. But basically what happens is the TPs are turning points, transition points, black holes, whatever you want to call them. They're areas where the businesses get stuck for long periods of time. And there are specific points where they do and specific reasons they do. And if you were able to understand those in advance, would that help? I mean, it would change my world dramatically. I had nearly 18 years trying to work this out. And my coach came along and said, well, there's the answer. And I could have killed him. Quite happily strangled him. He arrived 6 years late. I'd been in one of those black holes for about 6 years. It was pretty horrible. So I can show you some of the points and actually walk through why that happens as well. Typically, as you rise, there are 4 things that you need to build or fix or design or reiterate or redesign in your business. So if you come through a transition point, typically the first thing you have to fix is sales, next thing is channel, third thing is product, fourth thing is brand. They've got quite big growth numbers wrapped around those as well, and I'll talk you through what they are. But does that kind of make sense? Any questions about that? The dips are all investment phases. The peaks are all high profit leveraged. So you invest in sales, it throws you to the next peak. You invest in channel, it throws you to the next peak. Typically, businesses who have good sales and channel people, so good relationship people, grow fast through the first period and then slow down through the second. Typically, people with great brand skill sets and product skill sets pull their businesses through that first period quickly, leverage onto the next period, and then get stuck again. So they get stuck at different points based on different skill sets. Is this making sense? Okay. So that's the entire run. This was calculated by a quant mathematics team who basically went to find out if I can work out on my jump numbers when businesses are going to do this. I can get in here and get out there and get in here and get out there. And if one of those shows up, I can get out completely and jump in again here. So this quant team did the mathematics all the way up to 14 billion. Those are the specific numbers. What we've got is several different business phases to go through. So first phase down here, this is the first phase. This is your hobby business up to the point where you're earning enough to pack up your job. And this phase between here is the ing phase, the doing phase. That's everybody's doing something. Why is there a black hole at 80,000? What kind of business is that? Sole trader, and most people say it's the VAT threshold. It's not, because the average is 80,000. We have an accountant who's got over 450 one-man band sole traders. Sole, S-O-U-L, trader. Okay, just give you time to catch that one up. So sole traders, and if the average is 79,000, then there's some doing 150 and some doing 60, so it's not the VAT threshold. I know it kicks in at 80,000, but that's not what stops people in the majority. It does stop 1 or 2, but it's not the majority. The doing phase, as I grow, I start to add people. I then get stuck at the 700, 750 phase. I just need to quickly look whether I'm breaking this down for you. I think I am. Yeah, okay, I can do that. So that goes all the way up to the top level. Typically what happens is doing, by the time I get here, there are now too many people, so now I need processes. The processes won't help me when I get up here, so now I need additional capabilities, another layer, all the way up to corporate and conglomerates. And we'll go through that in a bit more detail. But make sense to people? And it pretty much happens bang on the numbers. We get people walk up to us all the time saying, I'm stuck at 15 million, I've been stuck there for 3 years, can't get past that. I get small businesses stuck at 700 and 800 and 900,000. 96.4% of all businesses in the US and here never break 1 million or 10 staff. If you go and look at that 0 to 9 staff number, it's most of the businesses in the UK. Does that make sense? So, in fact, if I can remember the stats, the last time I saw them, 22 million businesses in the US, only 90, I'm sure it's 96.4% never break 1 million. Only 15,000 get past 20 million. out of 22 million. Yeah, dollars, yeah. These numbers work, by the way, everywhere where the rate of exchange is less than 2 times. So it doesn't work in Rand. I had to change the numbers for Rand. It works in Aussie dollars. It works in US dollars. It works in euros. It works in pounds. So, but it's where the numbers change dramatically. What you've got to think about is more the number of people, and I'll go through that as well. Any other questions about that? Comments, thoughts? Make sense? Again, we very seldom look at our businesses in this way. So there's your first run. So first black hole, 80,000. This is predicated on this run of approximately 80,000 turnover per head. So why do I get stuck at 750,000? On your tables, quick conversation. Talk to me about what that 750,000 business looks like. Talk to me about what's going on in there and why is it now stuck. On your tables, go. Okay, so that sounds like you've worked it out. I'm sorry if the answer is simpler than you think it is, but let's try. So why am I stuck at 750,000? And for that, please hear anywhere between 750 and 900,000. It's the under million. This is all the businesses that never quite break a million. I got stuck there for 3 years. I was convinced if I could get to 1.2 million. I don't know why I thought 1.2 million was different. I just thought it would change everything. It took me literally years, 2 or 3 attempts. I failed and had to go back to previous sizes. I had lots of conversations like I trebled my wage bill to double my turnover to halve my profit. Did lots of that. That wasn't much fun. So why did I get stuck? What was the sticking point at 750? Yep, it's not the answer, but it is overheads. The overheads is one of the issues. Why am I stuck at 750?
You can run a business that size yourself, but to go beyond that, you need a whole team.
It's ing. I'm doing. So the rule says I can manage 5 people plus or minus 2. So at 7, I am now at my maximum, even if I was trained to manage people, which if I was trained to be an architect, I wasn't. I was trained to manage a pencil and a drawing board. I wasn't trained to manage people. So I reached 7, and now what happens is the managing partner, who is originally bringing all the revenue in, is spending most of their time managing people. So the revenue drops. I get stuck at 700 because it's about 100,000, 80 to 100,000 a head. So I get up to 7, 8, 9. At 9, I really am struggling, and I can't afford the additional resource. At this point, I need to bring in a person who is good at managing. I'm not even good at managing people, let alone managing managers. So typically I bring somebody in, tell them they're in charge, and then tell them what to do. Why? Because I've been used to doing. And I come and fiddle with what they're doing because I need to know what they're doing, because I'm in a doing phase. Does that make sense? Some of you know people like this who get stuck in that black hole. So let's assume I work out what to fix in that black hole, and I'm going to go through at a one-by-one, blow-by-blow team build and show you why this is happening. So let's assume I fix that one and I jump through to the next level. So there's 2. So up I go. I double in size. Now I've seen 2 750 businesses put themselves together and they go, yes, we're 1.5 million. No, they're not. They're 2 750 businesses, and in a very short space of time, they're both doing less than $1 million between them. I've seen that happen over and over and over again. Then they split and go back to building their 750 business. I see law firms turning over 7.5 million, and they go, we're doing 7.5 million. I said, no, you're not. You're 10 silos, all doing about 750. And they have a quick look, and they go, oh, yeah, 10 departments, each with about 5 or 6 people in, each with a managing partner. Yeah, you're absolutely right. And they never. But there's under a brand. There's a brand franchise type model. Most law firms are actually brand franchises. They're just me, as a lawyer, doing my type of law under that brand in this business. Does that make sense? Any lawyers in the room? Good, we can bag them out. Now, I've worked with quite a few lawyers. They're actually quite easy to fix. It's one of the reasons why culture is one of the things that shifts their organizations the most, is getting them all to play nicely together as one business takes a lot of cultural shift. It's not about a commercial shift. It's not about showing them how to be better lawyers. It is about showing them how to sell because they haven't got a clue. But let's assume I jump through from 750, I hit 1.5. Now what I don't have is a sales capability to get to 3 million. Does this all make sense? So what happens is I go fix my 1.5. This is very bottom-up driven, very typical. I've got a problem today. I'll solve my problem for today, and then I'll move on to the next problem. And then another problem shows up, and it will be all in the things that you wrote down, top 3 things to focus on. Another problem shows up. I fix that problem, but I've probably got to go back and refix that one because that one wasn't fixed good enough for this problem. So go back and fix that one, come forward and fix this one, get to this one and go, oh, this one's broken. Oh, I've got to go back and fix that one, and I've got to go back and fix that one. And that's called the bottom-up strategy. It's why that journey typically takes anywhere between 8 and 30 years. Now, online happens much faster, and you can steamroller through this until you reach a capability. So Jason, where's Jason? Oh, there he is, sorry. Didn't see him behind me. Jason, if you want an interesting story, I'll just ask my guys to put their hands up. So can the SGFE team put their hand up in the room so you know who we are? There's also Richard, who I work with at the back there. Is that it? Yep. So Jason built a business using culture and brand values to 1,200 staff and 1.2 billion. Just under a billion, 750,000 clients, and they didn't have a clue what the product was. Here's a business that had no idea what the product was. These guys weren't trained on product. They literally just ran culture and team. So you want to hear that story? Go talk to him about that. It's a fascinating story. So we build all the way up. We get up to 12 million, and the reason brand comes up at that point is the last time I looked at brand, I was turning over 600,000, and the brand exercise I did then was print a card, get a website done, and stick a sign on the van. At 12 million, that doesn't quite cut it anymore. So I need to relook at it. So even though it's the same 4 things, they're completely different in each business. The level of sales fix you need to fix at 24 million is very different to the level of sales problem you fix at 1.5. Does that kind of make sense? Now, 90% of the people in this room, I suspect, are looking to get into that run. You're either in that run already or you're looking to get there. Would that be fair? Anybody got beyond that yet? Good. What are you up to? 35? 23. Okay, so let's just give you a quick look. So you might remember some of this. Did I go the wrong way? No. So typically, if you jump through that 17 million black hole, the 15, 16, 17 million black hole is now I need to employ somebody who's better than me at what I'm good at. Most entrepreneurs don't even believe that's possible, that there could be anybody better than me at what I'm good at. If you start off with that skill, that's great. At the 170 million, I need to find a completely different management team. It's a completely different business at that level. But I jumped through from 12 to 24. It's a bit of a doozy. We get a lot of businesses come to us stuck at the 17 and say, how do I shift this? And they're all infrastructural design issues. They're not product issues. It's not an issue with the product. If you're brilliant at product, you can get through that. Typically, that then jumps 24, 48, 96, 120. So I've seen businesses that will do 34, 57, 100, and not make any money. And I look back over the growth cycles, and if I just shift their year end to land at 24, 48, 96, and 120, they make a lot of money. So typically, we see 20% EBIT here, profit here, 10% here, 20% here, 10% here. If I split the P&L apart and look at what the money's being spent on, I'll find it was still 20% profit, 10% is being spent on growth, and 10% is being spent on running the business, or is profit. So sometimes that changes the way people look at their businesses, all the way up to huge. Most people top down. Most people build bottom up. Fix this problem, go to that problem, go back and fix that one, fix this one, move to the next one, go back and fix that one, go back and fix this one, go back and fix this one, etc. What we try and get people to design is to go top down, go all the way up to the end of the brand experience that you want to build for your clients. Design that. It's a bit like if you are an architect, if you just gave a piece of land to a bunch of builders and said, go and have a go, and came back 6 months later to see what kind of a building they built, it would be a mess. So here's the architect's plan. Here's what the business is going to look like. So go all the way up to 24 million, or all the way up to 120 million, in this case 12. Work out what the whole business should look like. Then come back and work out what products would I need to have. And most people go, oh, I'd need more than the one I do now. So we start looking at what products would fit that brand. Then come back and look at what channels we would need to build to go down. And then all the way back to what sales systems we'd have in place. And it changes your investment strategy when you understand what you're actually building for. It changes what you look for in your business when you understand you should be hitting a percentage at 24 that you're not getting at 11 or 7 or 19, etc. It just changes your ability to calculate the value of your business. Is this making sense? Any of you looked at this already, know how to do this? Most people don't. This isn't what I see taught in MBAs, by the way. This isn't what I see taught in business schools. It's unique. Now, why is it unique? Because it was designed by a funds manager. And fund managers look at businesses fundamentally different from the way a P&L person will. So if you want to be a funds manager, you have to go and do 2 years of Masters in Business Finance, which is how to calculate a share price and how to predict a share price. So a lot of the tools we've got are predictive tools. They tell you what's going to happen. Most of the P&L world is reactive tools. They tell you what's happened. How much use is what's happened? Well, sometimes it's useful. Let's not do that again is usually what comes out of that type of mix. Does this make sense? Any questions about that? Got it, just like that, piece of cake. Everybody knows how to go and do this now?